Welcome to Keiki Camp. Hi friends, I'm Miss Malia and I'm going to help you do your projects every day this week. So let's get started. Today's project is our Simply Stamped Tote, and what you're going to need to make it is your kit. So we have our Simply Stamped Tote kit, and then the extras that you're going to need, which are listed on your project sheet, are a plate, a little paper plate just to use for a paint palette, paper towels, of course. Those of you that have done this lots of times know we love our paper towels for helping to keep things clean. You need a pencil or a dark pen to trace your templates. You need a ruler. This is just if you like to draw straight lines. Those of you that know, Miss Malia does not always use a ruler. And then of course we have our handy dandy scissors. The glass of water is for you to clean off your brush when we're mixing paint. And then if you have a glue gun at home, we are going to be using this to put our stamps together. All right, so I just want to show you, this is going to be that wonderful finished tote you have. These are the two stamps that you're going to learn how to make today. We have our MONSTERA leaf and that really fun rainbow. I feel like this is becoming a theme in our camps. So let's unbag our kit. So you have your instructional sheet, and what's nice is if you unfold it, you're going to see your MONSTERA pattern here and your rainbow pattern. These are the templates. Remember that word? These are the templates or the patterns that we're going to cut out and trace. So I'm going to put that on the side because we are going to use that. Now inside your kit, you're going to find your foam. You'll have foam pieces. If you have that little paper on it, you can just pull that off. So you have your 3 foam pieces. You have, of course, your tote. And if you unfold that, you can just give it a good hand press. We call this hand pressing to take that fold out. And that's not going to be a problem. If you want to get your scissors, you can just cut off the tag just so that it doesn't get in your way. You know, because we might be moving the bag around. You don't want it to get in your paint. So here's our tote. I'm gonna put that there. And of course, I'm so grateful to Miss Jenny for putting together. Isn't that wonderful? You have 3 colors of paint, and some of you might already be wondering, hey, wait a minute. When I look at my tote, I see other colors, and you're right, you do. We are going to learn some color mixing today if you haven't done that already. So we have our paint. I'm going to put that in my palette. And then one brush. Again, if you've ever done these wonderful painting projects with Miss Jenny, you know as an artist, she is so good at using just a one brush technique where she uses it for all the colors that she's going to paint with. Now right now, I am not going to need my bag because I'm going to work on making my stamp, and for that I'm going to need my template. So I'm actually going to put everything aside. Now we have our, like I said, we have our pencil and ruler there for those of you that are reading your instructions and love to follow those. Something that we figured out that's really easy, since we just need shapes that match each other, is we're just going to fold it in half. And we are going to cut that with our scissors. Now if you're saying, what did you just do, Miss Malia? Well, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take my next piece. I'm going to fold that in half. That's all I'm doing, is matching corner to corner. And I'm just cutting it in half. What, you say? Yes, let's do it again. Right? I have my sheet. All I'm doing is folding it in half. There's my little, and I can even press it down like I'm folding paper if you really want to kind of open it and see where you're cutting. But the easy way that we've discovered is you just do that, stick your scissors inside and just cut it right up. And there are my pieces. So now I'm just going to save 2 pieces because these are what I'm going to cut my stamp shapes out of. So I'm going to put that on the side. Now I'm going to be using my glue gun. Now you can see when it's on, I know it's on because the light is on. We were getting ready to do this project, and so Miss Jenny plugged it in early before we started because you do need the glue gun to heat up. So when it is ready to go, I have 4 pieces of foam and I'm going to glue them together like a sandwich, meaning I'm going to put them one on top of the other so that I have all 4 pieces stacked together. So I'm just going to...
And are we doing this to create like a stamp block, Miss Malia?
Yes, because when we're making the stamp for this project, we're showing you that in order to, let me show you a finished one, have our stamp, I'm going to stack that together, on a block to hold, we're gluing all of the foam pieces together.
Oh, so it's going to make it easier for us to grab.
Yes, because you can see if I'm holding one, it's a little bit soft, it's hard. Flimsy is a great word. When I stack them together, it makes it a lot stronger and easy for me to stamp. So I am pressing this down. You saw me put the glue there. Again, this is a great project because you get to do a lot of things over and over. And you can see I'm even doing glue in different places. You just want the pieces glued together so they don't move. So I'm going to take my next piece and put that right on top of there. Now be careful of your hands. Remember, sometimes glue will squeeze out the sides, so just be careful. Get someone to help you if you do need help with the glue gun, but I bet that if you just take your time, because we're not in a rush, you're not going to have problems with the glue. Now I can see my glue stick is starting to get short, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it because I might need help getting the glue out. My glue gun doesn't, oh hey now. There we go. So I'm just going to squeeze more glue. And I'm stacking my very last piece of foam. Right here. I'm giving that a nice press with my hands. And so you can see now that you've stacked all 4 of your pieces, this is the base for your stamp block. And you can even hold it right now. You can feel how that's going to make it so easy for you to hold it with your hand. I'm just going to give that one last press all the way around. And I'm going to leave it on the side to dry. And now we get to work on making our stamps. I'm just going to trim. I have this little plastic piece that came when the paper was there. I'm just going to trim that off. Part of it is so that if there's anything on your foam, you might want to take it off. That way it'll make sure that it'll lie flat. Okay, so now I'm getting my instructional sheet because our templates are on there. And now I'm going to move these to the side because I'm going to cut out my templates. I'm going to cut out each piece of the rainbow, and then I'm going to cut out the big shape of the leaf, and I will show you the easy way to cut out those circles. Because if you know what a MONSTERA leaf looks like, if you've seen them growing, and MONSTERA comes in a lot of different leaf sizes too. Miss Malia works with the giant MONSTERA a lot. But there are little MONSTERA plants too, and the cool thing is when they grow, there's nothing wrong with the leaf. It's not like a bug is eating these holes. The holes just happen naturally. And so that's why I think it's a beautiful design. Nice and simple, but recognizable that Miss Jenny made. I'm going to put the MONSTERA leaf on the side and work on just one template first. So with your scissors, you can see I have 3 pieces, the top arch, the middle arch, and the middle piece. Now whatever is easy for you to cut out, please do whatever is easy. And what that means is if you like to cut off the extras first, go ahead and do that. If you want to hold it all together in one hand and just cut them all out, do that. So again, whatever is the easiest way that you learned how to cut is the way that you can cut. I'm just cutting across the bottom here because I know that all of the shapes have the same bottom line. And now I'm just going to cut on the line to get those arches out. Wow, Miss Jenny gave me a really fancy scissor. That's what I didn't get when I went shopping. I should have bought myself some new scissors. I'm glad to have these because they're really great for cutting. Curves are hard to cut sometimes. So I'm going to put my rubbish on the side. I got my top arch, so now I'm going to work on the inside line of that first arch of my rainbow. And I know when we've done this before, it's true. Sometimes templates can feel like, oh my goodness, so much cutting. But you know, it's really worth it. And what's nice is we've discovered, I'm just going to cut the top of this next arch. We've discovered that once you cut a template, you actually have it all the time. So once you've learned to make the stamp today, well, you can make them over and over again because now you have the templates to trace. So there's my next step piece I don't need. I know this part gets a little tricky because you end up with little pieces in between pieces, but just remind yourself that the rainbow we're making has 3 pieces: an outside arch, a middle arch, and this last center arch. So you can see that coming together too. And I'm going to cut this last piece. I can already hear some of you. I can imagine in my head, some of you are thinking, oh, or saying, oh, when I cut out the in-between pieces, I have little arches. You do. Save those. You might want to use them for another kind of template. And there is my rainbow. So now I'm going to get my handy dandy pencil. I'm going to decide, let's see, I want to just make sure there's enough space for everybody. Because remember, I'm cutting these pieces out of here and I'm going to glue them to my block. So I just want to use up the space I have. So I'm going to put the big arch there and I'm going to move my middle and my small piece and I'm going to trace it. So I'm going to hold it with my hand. All right, I've traced all my templates, so I'm going to put those on the side. And I'm going to cut out my first arch. I'm going to cut out this big arch to glue onto my stamp block. Now you can see I didn't line this up like a pretty rainbow, only because I knew I was going to cut them out of this piece. I just wanted to make sure I had enough space to trace them, to trace my template, and be able to cut them out. So here's my first arch. I really like cutting foam, just because it feels different than cutting paper, but it's so easy, kind of squishy. Scissors work so well with foam. So there's my first arch. I'm going to get my handy dandy glue gun. Then I'm going to line my arch with glue. Now again, always be safe. You're not in a rush. You don't have to move fast. I'm going to turn that over and glue it down. There's my first arch. Start from the bottom, press it all the way up. I'm just going to do this so you can see it because it is yellow on yellow. Soon enough, when we get paint, you'll see how that's going to stand out. And now I'm going to cut my other two pieces. All right, I just trimmed my last piece of my foam stamp, and I'm going to glue that last piece on right at the center of my rainbow. And there you go. This is going to be such a nice surprise since everything is one color, and with the paint, we're going to get to see different colors. All right, I have all of my rainbow pieces on my rainbow stamp, and now you're thinking, well, where are we going to put the leaf? Well, look at this. We are going to glue our leaf stamp to the other side. Pretty neat, huh? So now you're going to have a stamp that you can use for two different designs.
That's cool. I can't wait to see the rainbow piece that you're going to do right now. It's going to be so cool to see how that turns out.
So let's start stamping. So now I'm going to take my bag. I have my handy dandy stamp ready to go. Make some space for it. And now I get to mix some colors. When I was working with this bag, I thought that it was easy for me to actually tuck the straps underneath for now, just so I can see. You can feel with your hands where the straps are, so you can stamp around them. If you want to leave them out though, to keep all of this flat, just be careful of them so you don't get paint on them. All right, I know some of you have been waiting for this because it means that we get to color mix. Now, I don't know if you can see this. When you open the covers on this, it has a little tab. You just have to pull up on one to open the cover. If you need to ask for help, like I might have to ask for help, then do, but be very careful just because they have been in the mail. Oh, ta-da! We just want to make sure that you get all the paint we sent you. Just open them one at a time. I think what I'm going to do is, for my rainbow, I think today I'm going to pick red. So I want to leave a little red. Ooh, it's so thick. I'm going to get some red out and put that on my palette. And I'm going to close it. All right, friends, so let's start getting our paints ready. I have my stamp ready to go. I already put some paint on my palette. And of course, like you already guessed, we are going to be doing some paint mixing to get different colors. If you want to do a red, yellow, blue rainbow, by all means. But again, what I love is with your basic primary colors, we can get 6 colors total, and I want to show how we can get those. So I just saved the blue for last. I'm going to open that up carefully. Now, if you want to try this, it didn't work for my red when I was making my palette, but it worked for my yellow, so I'm going to see if the blue will help me. Ooh, it does. So I'm just pouring out a little bit. So there's some blue. I'm actually going to put some next to here, because if I'm going to mix, I might as well get close to my other colors. And I'm going to put some next to my red. See how much is in there. Ooh, nice. I'm just excited because this was such a wonderful way. I know how hard it is to mail some of the things we come up with as an idea. But once we decide what projects we want to do with all of you, oh my goodness, it is so nice to see how we can get these materials to you. So you can see I have my red, my yellow, and my blue, and I have my stamp. Now, I'm going to make my rainbows here. I'm thinking that I want to make some since I have red on my brush, I'm actually going to make some orange. So if I mix red and yellow together, that is how I'm going to make some orange. So I'm just going to pull some there.
It looks like ketchup and mustard.
No,
Malia.
It is early in the day, and that still makes me hungry. I was just someplace where I got to be near Giant Stadium in San Francisco, and it wasn't a baseball game. It was a different event, but every time I'm by a baseball stadium, my goodness, makes me want to eat a hot dog. So I'm just picking up yellow and mixing it into this red here until I get an orange that I like. Can you see? Sometimes when you're eating a hot dog on a plate, that's what the ketchup and the mustard will do. Mix together. Although I don't know if they get really orange. Now I need to eat a hot dog and find out. So I made some orange there. Yay! And I think the orange is the first color I'm going to do for the top of my rainbow. So I'm going to just pick up a little bit more. Mix that in. Now you can see I'm loading my brush up. I'm picking up a lot because I want to cover my largest arch with it. I'm just going to paint that on. Now remember, when we glued that piece of foam on, it is sitting on top of all the rest of the foam. So it's a raised piece that I get to paint on. So you can see all I'm doing is painting that arch.
And we have to make sure all of our paint that we put on there remains wet, right, Miss Malia?
Yeah, exactly.
So we kind of have to work fast.
Yep, so that's why I am picking it up. You don't have to hold it in your hand if you don't want to. I'm doing this so you can see it. And exactly like Miss Jenny said, I want to make sure, right, I have 3 arches I want to paint. I got to make sure all of that paint before I stamp it stays wet.
And that we have enough.
Yes. So I'm going to clean off my brush. Just tap it off. I don't really care if it's super clean. I'm going to take some, what am I going to do? Let's do some green. So I'm going to take some yellow and blue. I'm going to start mixing that together. Get it on this yellow here. Get a little bit more yellow. Ooh, there's some green. In fact, you know what? I don't even think I want to mix it all together to get it into one kind of green. Can you see? It's kind of turning yellow, blue, and green. And I'm just going to paint all of those colors on to my middle arch. Now you can see I am getting paint on the in-betweens of my arches. But remember, that piece of foam is sitting on top of my stamp block. It's okay if I get a little paint down in the channels. I just want to make sure I paint that arch all one color.
And you're kind of putting the paint on a little bit thick, not too thin again, so it will stay wet, correct?
Exactly. That you can see that it is a little hard maybe to see on the screen, but yes. Okay, now I'm going to clean that off real quick. I'm just going to tap off my brush. I don't even care if it's a little bit wet. You know, I'm going to pick up some of that red and blue. Let's see if I can get a purple going on here without putting more red in. Ooh, it's kind of a dark purple. Maybe I'll pick up a lot of red. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, I'm going to pick up that last one. And it's great. I can tell that my paint is still wet because it's shiny. So as long as all of my arches are still shiny, good for me.
Great tip.
Yay! And so you can see my 3 arches. All right, I'm just going to put my palette to the side. I'm going to start stamping. Now this is your design. You can put it where you want. And so I'm going to hold it in my hand. You can see it. I'm holding it in my hand, and this paint is thick enough so it won't drip off. So I'm going to stamp like this. I'm going to decide where I want to put my first rainbow because I think I'm going to do like a little diagonal like that. So I'm going to smooth this out with my hand, flip my stamp over, put it right on. I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to press. Again, the nice thing about using foam as an art material is if you're doing stuff like making stamps, it's kind of soft, so you can press it down. So I'm going to make it even. I'm pressing down here, pressing up to the middle, moving it to the top. Now when I want to take it off, I'm going to do the same way. I'm going to hold my bag down, hold on to my stamp, and in one motion, I'm going to lift it up.
Wow!
Oh, I like it so much! And look, you can even see how my brush strokes ended up in there. When I was painting, there's my brush strokes. Ooh, I like it so much. Let's put some more.
This is fun. So you're just going to continue to put more colors
I am.
and stamp.
I am.
Fun.
So that is a wrap for this rainbow and rainbow stamping on this side. I'm going to let this dry, and now we are going to work on our MONSTERA stamp. So here's my one piece of foam. Here is my MONSTERA template. Then I'm going to cut this out just like I did the other one. Now, it might be a little bit daunting. Daunting just means it's something that looks like it might be a challenge because it has all those curves. But you know what? Take your time. That's the only thing about curves. You just teach your head and your hands how to work with them, and you do what's easy. Meaning you do whatever is comfortable when you're cutting out a shape. For me today, because I do it different ways depending on how my brain and my hands feel, I'm just going to cut out the outsides, cut out the outline of my leaf. Like I was saying, monsteras are such wonderful plants. They're very strong, their leaves are shiny and thick, and the natural look of them is that when the leaves are growing, they will just end up having these holes in them that are not because of bugs, they're not because of anything happening to the plant. It's just that that's the way that the plant grows. I'm cutting out the last curve of my leaf, and now I'm just going to show you a trick to get out these circles. Some of you might already be thinking, could you use a hole punch? Sure, you can use a strong hole punch to cut out holes. Something we're going to do with our foam when we cut out these holes, when we do the templates, it's exactly what I'm going to do now. So all I'm going to do is I want to get that whole shape. I'm just going to fold. I'm folding my template a little bit. I'm just going to snip where that circle is, just inside of it. Snip is when you just use the tip of your scissors to just cut. And I snipped it because what that means is now there's a hole there and I can stick my scissors in it. And that's going to just help me cut out that circle.
Can we see that again, Malia?
Yeah. I'm going to do it with my second circle. So right now I'm just cutting out the lines to get this circle. And remember, you know, it is a leaf. It's a natural part of a plant. So don't feel like you need to cut out a perfect circle. We're just trying to get this shape out so we can trace it on your foam piece, right? We're just making a template. And you can see, I mean, I'm using a giant scissors today. It's actually hard to cut a small shape. So you can see there's a hole there now, and I'm gonna do the same technique to cut out this hole. What I'm gonna do is this hole is here. I'm just gonna fold right where that circle is. So I'm just folding it. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna snip it, which means I'm just gonna use the tip of my scissors just snipping it, right? Snip. I might even snip it again in there. Snip. All that does is when I open it up, even though you can't see it, it means that I've put a hole there and I can gently stick my scissor through it. Oops, and then I can cut it out. In fact, I kind of just poked a hole in it, but I'm just going to snip the pieces out so that I can trace it. And I'll show you. I'm not even going to make that a pretty hole. That is a crooked hole. All I need to know, though, is that it's there so I can trace it on my template, or trace my template. So I'm just going to put that down on my last piece of foam, and I'm tracing. So just like we did with our template, when I was telling you about snipping and we're going to cut out that hole for the template, that's how we're going to cut out the holes in our foam to give our leaves those distinctive MONSTERA puka. So I'm just folding my foam. This time though, instead of snipping, I'm actually going to cut. So I'll do this side so you can see there's like that little place where my circle was in my template, and I'm just gonna cut a half circle. Turn my piece around. Not cut my fingernails. Ta-da! So it's a little bit crooked, but I'm just gonna trim that out with my scissors.
And like you said before, it's nature.
It is. I just want to make sure that's going to add interest to my stamp design. So I just want to make sure there's a hole there. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm just going to fold it. And so those of you who have cut shapes like this before know that you are going to cut like a half of a circle. And when you open it up, you get a whole circle. Curving that around. Ta-da! Ooh, that one came out better. Ta-da! And now I'm going to glue that to my stamp block. It's a little bit wet, so I'm going to use some paper towel just to turn that over.
Now you could always go to Ben Franklin and buy more fun foam if you wanted to make a totally another stamp, but this is way that we're consolidating so you can kind of have two stamps out of one, right?
Exactly. That's what's cool, is this becomes a two-sided stamp. In fact, I think I'll put glue on this side so you can see my outline a little bit. So I'm just doing the same thing I did before. I'm getting glue on my different leaf parts. This time though, you can see, because I do want all of the edges to lie down, I'm going around those circles and I'm getting glue up every single little leaf. So there's my glue. I'm going to turn it around. I'm actually going to put it at an angle so that the whole piece can fit. Just like that. And give it a good press. Now let's get to stamping. I'm going to take my bag and all I would do is decide how I want to do the design for my other side, right? I already did my rainbow stamp, so now if I'm deciding what to do with my MONSTERA, I would do the same thing. Miss Jenny did this for the way MONSTERA leaves go next to each other. But if you want to do a design, you get to put them wherever you want.
And I actually used a color called lime green that we sell at the store, but I'm really excited to see the green that you mix on the palette and maybe overlap one of the other MONSTERAs to add some interest. I really like it when they overlap.
Yes. Because, imagine, look at all of the colors I made just from mixing that first time. I have a green. You could do green or get another green. You could mix a different color together. Yeah. So now I'm going to stamp the other side of my bag. On this one? Okay. So now I'm going to stamp with my new stamp onto our first design. This is something we like to show students in our classes all the time. You can have a finished piece. Who says you can't add to it even when it's done? Not us. We say add to it. Make your design even more interesting and more beautiful. Now I have some blue and yellow. I'm going to get that blue and yellow. If I can get this open. Here I am. And I'm going to mix together some green. And like we said, we are going to add to the previous design. Now, one thing I love about Monstera leaves is they are mostly green, but there are parts of the leaf when they start to dry that actually get other colors in them. Sometimes reddish, sometimes brownish.
That's such a great green, Miss Malia.
I know, and look, you can see it's very different than the one that you used.
It looks like it has more yellow than it has blue.
I'm loading up my brush, and I'm just going to brush that right on. And what is the thing we want to make sure? That all of the paint we're using when we're about to stamp is wet. I'm just going to dot that all over. Like Miss Jenny mentioned before, I'm kind of working against the clock. I want to make sure my paint stays wet. And this leaf is just one piece and not 3 different pieces like our rainbow. So I really want to make sure that all of my stamp has wet paint on it before I stamp it on my bag. Ooh, I'm so excited. This is a really pretty green, and it is so different than the green that's already on the bag. We call that contrast. Contrast is when 2 things are not the same. They're almost not quite opposites of each other, but they contrast, and so that means you can really see what the differences are like in them. Now, I think you already know, because of the way that this paint works, because of my brush strokes, because of the temperature in this room even, these brush strokes kind of show up when I do painting. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm actually going to make my brush strokes follow the lines of my leaf. I'm going to, because I don't know. I don't really know what that's going to look like. But I'm going to see. Picking up my paint, I'm going to see what happens when Miss Malia uses those brush strokes to her advantage. All right, I've got all of my, I'm actually going to clean this part up. I've got all my paint on, and I think I am going to put one of these leaves, like Miss Jenny said, we want to overlap. So I think I want this one pointing this way, I want this one pointing this way.
Nice.
So I'm going to flip it over. Ooh, look, there's my rainbow. And I'm going to give it a good press. Right?
Now, before you do this, you do want to make sure that your rainbow is dry.
Yes. And it is,
okay,
mostly.
Good.
I think there's a little bit of paint in between my rainbow arches that we're not. But I'm not going to touch my bag with my hands.
We were just trying to save some material.
Okay, ready? I gave that a nice press. Let's see what it looks like. There you go. Cool. And you know what I'm going to do? Just like we did with our rainbow, I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of green. Because you can see I didn't quite get that top of my leaf. I'm just going to clean that up right now.
So easy.
So easy, and this brush is perfect for that. I can even make this hole a little bit rounder. But you can see there's one hole here and I lost my other hole here, so I'm just gonna clean that up.
And that's fine.
Yep.
Because not every leaf is gonna be the same.
It's true.
That contrast is really nice, and if you wanted to do that at home, you could actually have more yellow and less blue when you're mixing. And then on your next leaf, you could use more blue, right, Miss Malia?
Yeah. Which I'm sure some of you have already figured out, just doing lighter or darker. I'm gonna bring in a little bit more just to get more pink. Try to make that hole come up. There it is. And just clean that up some more.
Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed your stamping, learning how to use and make your own stamps today.
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what you've done. Like Miss Jenny and I always say, we love seeing the art you make. So please take a picture of it, send us an email, let us know if you or your mom or grandparents or dad are putting the pictures out on social media. We would love to see them. There's our stamped tote. Thank you so much for following our project today. Send us those images and we'll see you for the next time.